That's right.
Yeah, way too early. Pat, if you're listening, we'd be waiting for you right now.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, it's 4 o'clock, March the 8th, 2016, and I'm opening the regular meeting of the Citrus County School Board. Mr. Kennedy has opening exercises.
Thank you, Chairman Powers. Before I get into introducing some people, I'd like if we'd stand for a moment. This week, we've had the last number of days some unintended tragedies to some of our young people in Citrus County. And I want to first thank the crisis teams that have been involved at the schools. I'd like to thank the administration that has done just a superb job at putting the students first, the teachers and the staff that have comforted and continue to comfort our kids. And I have to just mention the amazing students that we have that just go beyond anything we can sometimes imagine in understanding how tragedies can somehow find some bright spot. Before we say the pledge, I would like, if we would, to take a few moments, bow our heads in silence. And if you are someone who prays, I would ask that you pray for our school district, for our students, and for the safety of those in our community. Amen.
Amen.
If you just remain standing, and I would like to introduce Eagle Scout Michael Kane and Scotty, if you'd like to come up, and they are going to offer the Pledge of Allegiance for us.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
All those in uniform salute, all of those hands over your heart. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Eddie.
You may be seated. Thank you, gentlemen. In May of 2012, I met a young lady at Lecanto Middle School, and I had her come perform for us. And for those of you who can see, there's a picture of her back then. Well, we had a gathering a number of months ago, and she was there playing, and all of a sudden, I don't know why, but it just hit me, oh my gosh, it's Maddie. Well, she's matured a little. Maddie's going to be graduating as a senior this year in the class of 2016. And I think you'll find after you listen to her why that her next thing is that she's going to be traveling to Nashville and to continue in her dreams. I think Mom won't be too far to make sure everything's all set. This woman, young woman, inspires me when I hear her singing. It is a style that I personally value greatly. So I'd like for Citrus County School Board, those in the audience, and Citrus County, y'all welcome Madeline Fisher.
Mr. Kennedy. That meant a lot that you said that. Hello, Citrus County. I'm going to play you a song by the notorious, wonderful inspiration of mine, Carrie Underwood. It's called Look at Me, and then I'm going to play a song of my own called Like a Cloud. So I hope you all enjoy it, and I hope my nerves don't get to me. I'm taking this one to Nashville with me. Oop, little jazz, sorry. Forming
new school board member slash talent scout. Very beautiful.
Thank you, and thank you, Ms. Fisher, so much.
Thank you.
Board members, I thank you for indulging me, and I turn it back over to you, Ms. Powers.
Thanks very much. If you look at our agenda, I'd like to move the curriculum update above the citizens' comments. And then if we could have a motion to adopt the agenda with that change.
I move to adopt the agenda with the change of moving the curriculum update up to after,
Above the citizens.
above citizens' comments. Thank you.
Second.
It's been moved by Ms. Bryant, seconded by Mr. Kennedy, to accept the agenda as recommended by the superintendent with the addition of curriculum update with Mr. Bittner above the citizens' comments. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 0. Thank you.
All right, good afternoon, and you will have Mr. Bittner shortly. I just wanted to preface it. This conversation or this presentation came out of the earlier meeting that we had about the MYP and IB program. And as we left that meeting, we determined that we were not going to move forward at this time, but the school board had a few questions that you would like some feedback on, and Mr. Bittner has that information. The 3 items were, does the IB middle school have to be whole school? Do we have to pay for testing at the middle school level if we move forward? And can we divide a school into 2 schools and get around the whole school? So that's what Mr. Bittner is going to come and present to you guys. So.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the school board, Superintendent Himmel. Which of our questions would you like me to start with?
Your choice, whichever you deem best.
The 3 questions that Mr. Rowland brought to your attention, I think 2 of them kind of go together. One of them, does the IB middle school have to be a whole school? And then can we divide the school into 2 schools to get around that whole school issue? There would be circumstances that would necessitate perhaps a need to have a school within a school, more or less is what both questions are asking. However, IB will, and I will quote here, strongly encourage that all students are included in the program unless there's absolutely mitigating factors. I can't think of any mitigating factors that we would have in Citrus County that would be accepted by IB as legitimate reasons. So I think that if we were to do this in Citrus County, we would have to have the entire middle school be IB's.
And your thoughts on that, could you share?
On whether that's good or bad?
Sort of, yes.
The way IB is going now, I think that would be the model that is quite honestly a good idea. I think the mindset, at least in the last 10 years ago, would have been that IB would be more of an advanced program for those kids who really want to excel. And that philosophy by IB is changing to become a model that all students should be able to do the IB program. This past year with our 5-year accreditation, we had to come up with a document, a brand new document, addressing the needs of special needs students. And that seems to be the way IB is starting to move for everybody to be involved, because it's more of a pedagogy and a methodology as opposed to just only gifted or only the real serious students should be allowed to partake in this program. So that's the way IB is going. I see within perhaps 10 years all high schools who want to start are going to have everybody in that philosophy. It's just kind of the way they're moving.
It's basically a way of learning, an excellent way of learning, in other words.
Correct.
Yes, now, Mr. Bittner, you told us at a workshop meeting that that was going to be, in the next 5 to 10 years, that could be a decision that we're going to have to make about Lecanto High School, though, too, not just the new schools, correct?
Correct.
The existing schools.
Yeah, I would say, and then I didn't say that very clearly. Within 10 years, I would firmly believe that any new high school, and even us in our 5-year review, would be asked to perhaps start to consider how we were going to take our existing high school and make it everybody part of the IB program. And I don't think we're there yet. I don't think this is any need for concern. I don't see it happening in the next 5 years. I could see it perhaps in 10 years. But again, IB is a business, and they're a business model, and they're always tweaking things to maximize returns.
Well, and I think, too, that if IB wants to pursue the smaller districts that don't have a lot of schools. I mean, it's not just Citrus County. There's a lot of other districts that are in the same boat that we're in. I mean, I don't foresee us having an entire high school dedicated to IB. I just, with 4 high schools. So I would, my hope is that you can, through your influence, I think you're, the president of the state association?
Yes.
That would be something that you could talk to them about, because I would be all for having a school within a school at Lecanto Middle School. But obviously, they don't want that. And so, I think that's too bad for our students that IB wants total control. I mean, it would be a great program if we could bring that, just like we've done at the high school. But not only that, now we're going to be faced with a decision at Lecanto High School in 5 to 10 years of either getting rid of the IB program or have the whole school IB. I mean, that's kind of the way it's going. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, I don't want to cause any concern for people who have kids in the IB program worried that we're always all of a sudden going to lose it. I don't think the high school is there yet. I think that's at least 10 years away. I think any new school coming on board from middle or primary, however, if I focus back to those two, is absolutely, it's going to have to be the whole school. I don't see there's a lot of wiggle room. Now, I can't predict what IB would say, and I don't necessarily am saying we shouldn't try the process and ask perhaps for some dispensation. I quite honestly don't think that would happen. But that's just my honest opinion.
And we don't want also the community to think that just because you're going to Lecanto anytime soon, you only will have to be an IB student to go to Lecanto. Because there's both sides of that too.
We're not trying to give that impression.
So we're not closing IB down, and we're not necessarily forcing everybody into IB right now.
That is correct.
So we're saying that not for as much us, but just so there's no misunderstanding on that issue.
Mr. Bittner, will you sort of give a review of what the IB model is and why it's a good educational model and why people would want to be part of it in a whole school?
Yeah, let me address that with 2 parts then. Let's just talk about the philosophy of education. So the IB model is going to include, most importantly, development of a second language. So when you go first grade and you start PYP all the way through, you're going to have to start learning a second language regardless. So that's part of the model, the idea that everybody should eventually at some point become bilingual. That's very important. The second part of the model is going to be that the education really needs to be driven by students. And IB will say within their literature that any classroom needs to have 50% of the time devoted to what the students are doing, the student voice, etc. So they will frown upon 100% pure lecture. You should not stand up and just lecture the entire time. Kids need to be involved in some way, shape, or form. They're also going to have the philosophy that all assessment needs to be driven by, hey, I take a test and I get 90% and that's my final grade and I don't get a lot of feedback necessarily on it, but there's a rubric. This is key words that we want to try to achieve and to attain. If I step back and talk about the IB model then a little bit in the bigger picture, there's no doubt that our middle schools do a great job here in Citrus County. But if I'm a person wanting to relocate to Citrus County and I live in Washington State or Oregon, and I look at Citrus County, a school for how many years? 9? 8 out of 9, 9 out of 10? And great county, great schools. But it's kind of the equivalent of choosing between going to a Harvard or a UF. UF does a great job, and in many ways I'd argue UF is even better. But if I'm living in Oregon and I have those 2 choices to pick from, I'm thinking, well, Harvard is obviously going to be the better school. So the thing that IB brings is really name recognition. And as our county starts to develop even more, and as we get the Suncoast Parkway up here and things become better, we'll start having more professionals wanting to move here. I was in a conversation with a dentist whose kids go to an IB middle school down in Clearwater, and he was asking me for a high school that was private, that would be a really good high school for his kids to go to, but he wanted it to be IB. And I said, well, if you're going to be in Clearwater, that the choice is Clearwater Central Catholic, and great school. So the name recognition by itself is a very important key. Now, and the opposite side of the argument is going to be that Citrus County is hopefully going to have an IB middle school very soon with St. John, or St.
Pope.
Yeah, Pope.
St. John Paul now, St. John
I
Paul.
keep getting confused with Pope and St.
Yeah.
St. John Paul Catholic. And so there is going to be, hopefully, like I said, they'll get through the authorization process, and there will be an opportunity for those professionals who are looking to relocate and who definitely want to have their kids in an IB program would have that opportunity with St. John Paul.
And when a person, say a child, finishes high school with an IB diploma and stuff, what advantage out in the world going to college does that give that child?
So going back to just the high school perspective then, I would perhaps argue that the diploma, earning an extra IB diploma is actually minimal. Going through the experience of the junior and senior year in the IB curriculum is really what matters the most, whether or not you attain that final diploma or not. And the biggest benefit, and I can't say this enough, is that when our kids go to college, I have never had one say college was much harder than I thought it would be. Most of them say, hey, this is a lot easier than what I went through. It's a piece of cake. I have to write a 5-page paper, no problem. I get it done in 30, 40 minutes, and I'm ready to go. So they're absolutely positively prepared.
So the rigor of the high school program is pretty strong.
We try to make it as rigorous as we can without getting too overwhelmed.
Well, the students that I know that go to IB, I think it's very rigorous. I think it's a great program for them. But I thought it was ironic that, I know you couldn't be here at the workshop when they presented this, but you know, it was presented to this board that the middle school rigor is not any more rigorous than our current middle schools. And I had a hard time with that, that was the case, that IB middle school wouldn't be rigorous, but IB high school is known for its rigor, and it's preparing kids for college. So my concern over the middle school level is that didn't really fit too well with me. So can you address that at the middle school level, why it's not a rigorous middle school program?
I wouldn't say, we didn't say it was not rigorous. We said with the standards we teach today, it's our
We're
rigor.
more rigorous than what we
Right,
have.
but that's not to say, we did not say it was not rigorous.
Okay, I agree.
I guess I would address that by saying I do think the IB MYP program is a very rigorous program, but I also think our middle schools do a fantastic job of education. So I wouldn't say that it wasn't rigorous, because I think our middle schools do a fantastic job. I think I would go back to the idea that UF, Harvard, both fantastic schools, both very rigorous. The Harvard gets the name brand with the IB. If I go back to the middle schools, there's no. Let me just start back at the high school. The high school level, no doubt we're preparing students for college. But I do think it could be expanded in the sense that I think more kids could get through the program. You don't have to be gifted, you don't have to be super smart. You have to be dedicated to studying and making sure that you want to succeed. And I think the same would be true at the middle school. As long as you're willing to work and put in the time and effort, you can be successful. But I think that's what we want all of our middle school kids, all of our high school, all of our primary school kids, is to have those basic skills of desiring to work, desiring to improve, desiring to learn. And I think that's what we want for everybody.
Mr. Bittner, the only concern that I think as we explore some of these, though, is that, and I would agree with nearly everything you've said, part of that makes the IB program successful, aside from Mr. Bittner, which is an ominous, I mean, always goes together when we talk about how successful the program is.
Synonymous.
Synonymous, thank you.
Not a problem.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Ominous.
I love my board. Is that there are also, and this is what I think Ms. Powers is saying, there are structure to the program that enables certain things to take place, certain learning to take place, certain exploration to take place. But that particular structure is at a cost.
Yes.
That is, for example, at the high school level, we have an AB schedule that has a 7-period-a-day schedule. That means right now that, for example, the rest of the population doesn't really go to those IB courses. So teachers are teaching within very specific environments with very specific screened students. And in addition to that, we have collaborative time that you are able to do with those teachers, so that both at grade levels as well as within subject areas, there's coordination among those professions, and that's part of, I believe, the IB practice,
Yes.
as well as the training of that. All of which I highly agree with, we could adopt that at any school, that model, and we would, I think, see often similar results as we talk about the rigor. I can pretty much take any AP student schedule at any high school and find it to have a similar rigor as the IB, and you and I know because you've helped develop my own son's schedule at a different school.
Right.
And so then certainly it is the case. But that structure comes at a cost, and right now we have some of that cost offset by the fact that if they graduate with an IB high school diploma, the state compensates us for that. We are finding that not all of our students are staying within IB past PIPs. And so that means that I believe we're at 60% of our students right now that are graduating with an IB diploma that are seniors, roughly about that. So if we start having a percentage of that that drops, that they're not even going into their junior, senior year, then that means that program is costing us more. If we were to expand that program, then if we're required to through the entire school, that's going to have a cost to it. And I believe that same model is what would be expected of a middle school if we were to adopt it at a middle school, and there would be no cost offset to that at the middle school level. So that's the general concern that I have, is that we have a model that I believe works, but we know that works, but it's not necessarily a model we can globally adopt because of the cost of that model. We've been able to do that within a school, but we don't necessarily have duplicated that, because if we did, frankly, we would have an even larger budget or deficit. I would actually also just add one other thing. While I personally don't have a problem with the IB curriculum, and I understand there's some latitude with it at the middle school level, at the high school level, there is less latitude, it appears, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, into the requirements necessary in order to get an IB diploma and the courses that are required. There's concern in the community, and and not just our community, but even throughout the nation, of whether the IB curriculum is one that everyone wants to see their child do. And that would be concerning to me, that we would be mandating that, or they would in essence have to go to a different school. So those are the reservations that I have, is cost and forcing a curriculum that they may or may not be desiring.
I think what that says to the way of learning instead of curriculum, although it is curriculum. And the way of learning that the IB presents, to me, seems to be the logical way for anyone to learn. Now, the cost that you're talking about is something that has to be considered, but I don't think anyone could object to the way of approaching
The
education
curriculum
of
does,
learning.
because, for example, we don't teach American history in IB. We teach history of the Americas, I believe. You don't have to take U.S. history or American history. Is that correct?
American history is part of the history of the Americas.
But it is the one, IB, I believe, is exempt from the graduation requirement and can meet that requirement through the course History of the Americas, which includes the standards within that.
The way the state has designed it is that IB students do not have to take the history exam for EOC for American history, because the state felt that all the entire curriculum for those 2 years, the American history of the Americas, the 2-year course, was already embedded in that, and they were getting information.
And what we know is right now we have new textbook laws that require the public to be a part of that process. Well, they don't necessarily are involved in that process with IB because it's an opt-in program. But if it's becoming a mandated program, I think we're going to find that the public is going to say, because they already have in other communities, I have an issue with everything the way that curriculum is laid out. Because again, we've gone from it being an option to a mandated curriculum. And that's what I say. I'm glad we're not having to go down that road, because I do think that there are bumps to go down that road at the high school level.
I think in any curriculum there are bumps, but as Mr. Bittner said, that when you're talking about the history, it is embedded, that American history is embedded in that. The students who take the course, they're going to pass the test.
And I don't disagree with you, but I don't think that necessarily we found parents 100% concur with that. That's just what I mean, I've had people outright say, if you make Lecanto High School an IB school, my child will not go to an IB program. And that, to me, now that doesn't mean we wouldn't have educating
Well,
to do.
I know, and
But-
some
but I
people
do
don't want
think
the
there is
work.
a-
You know,
no.
they consider it to be work. I consider it, I know it, in a way, it is more work, but what is given is a way of learning that actually makes it easier. You are looking at, tied into a way that the mind actually works, and it's not busy work. You know, when you and I were in school, and I long before you, that sometimes you had busy work. You take this piece of paper home and do the 20 questions on it. You know, busy work. That doesn't happen in IB. There is not busy work. It's learning, it's understanding, it's reason.
There is, though, often, and Mr. Bittner may disagree with this, but there's also those that will say that IB tends to be often more theoretical learning and sometimes less hands-on learning with regards to, for example, some of the sciences in particular. Now, I'm not sure that I would completely personally agree with that, but I can tell you there is science teachers that have argued that, to say I would not teach at an IB school because I don't believe that curriculum is conducive to the best learning. Again, these aren't questions I think we're going to have to answer, but I think we have to be aware, we're not having to answer today, but I think we have to be aware that there isn't 100% buy-in, I believe, to IB.
There isn't.
And I'm concerned if we go down any road that mandates that if a student lives in a certain geographical area, they would have to go to an IB school.
And
And if they did not,
That's not the way we do it.
And I'm just going to cut us off a little bit because Mr. Bittner has a commitment. He has to be somewhere and leave in about 10 minutes. And that was one option that we will never mandate every student zone, particularly in Lecanto. There would never be a mandate that every student in Lecanto zone will have to go to Lecanto High School or Lecanto Middle. That's why we've got options. That's why we've got out of zones, because we do know that every parent, every community does not love IB. There's a demographics that loves it, and there's some who do not. So that would never be. But the purpose today was so that Mr. Bittner could come answer your questions. And I'm just cutting it short because I know he's got to leave, and I think there's a third question.
There is, and I'm glad you explained that, because I couldn't understand why you were using the word mandate, because I know we would never, ever say that if you live near this place, 100%
Well,
you
they would
gotta
have
go
to, they would have to go to a different
Yeah.
school, though, is what we have said. We would have to bus them to another school. I mean, that Superintendent, am I wrong to say that?
No, we do that with, yes, we do it already with
But
many
I would
students.
also say we would never say that anyone that's zoned for Crystal River has to go through the health academy, and if they don't, then they have to go to Lecanto. And that would be about the same thing.
That's totally different, You're drilling down to one little teeny part of life.
Because that's a school within a school.
Yeah.
And IB right now is a school within a school, but if that was made as a mandatory part,
We would never do it.
But
Mr.
that's what-
Bittner, I
and that's
don't
what
want
we're
to
saying.
cut you short, go ahead.
And let me just clarify, we're very, very, very far away from making Lecanto High School entirely an IB school. The third question was, do you have to pay for testing at the middle school? And I'll address that in a second. Let me go back a second, and Mr. Kennedy and I agree on many, many things. And I just wanted to clarify, not that I disagree with Mr. Kennedy, there is a cost to run any IB program, no doubt. I do think at the high school level, even though there are some quirks in our schedule which cause a lack of 100% efficiency, the money that we make from all of our IB testing, I think more than covers the cost that is incurred. So at the IB high school level, I actually think the IB program is probably bringing in more money than we're spending for the tests and everything.
Very good.
Can we get that, though, as a...
That's what I'm saying.
I would like to see that, Mr. Bittner. I believe you, I really do, but I would like to see after this year if we're finding that that's going to be the case, and I think we should project out some of those numbers as to based on what our current enrollment is, because I do think we're going to need to look at that.
Mr. Bittner did give us that maybe a year or two ago.
I know, but I know that there's been, I think you've seen some changes too, though, of students not continuing past.
Oh, yeah,
And I
no.
think that those are going to be some numbers we're going to have to look at to see, is there a trend?
Absolutely. I think you always want to reevaluate any system to make sure that you're doing what's best for everybody involved. I think if what you're asking is kids after 10th grade deciding not to continue on to IB, is that percentage getting greater or smaller? I think that's ultimately what your question is.
It is, and then I would also say is that you also have less kids that of the general population that are able to take AP courses at Lecanto because there is a preference, is my understanding, if you're in IB or in Avid. So, for example, we have students that are not taking as many of those courses, or we are saying, well, if they weren't IB students and we didn't have an IB program there, would we be getting funds off of them through the AP program? Because there would be a generation of that. So you have to kind of balance off that while, again, I don't want to misunderstand, I am very supportive of what we are doing with IB at Lecanto, but we also have situations that there are a multitude of dynamics involved with it. So if I'm also looking at other schools and saying that if I did a similar structure at another school, putting in the cost of additional guidance counselors, for example, for those number of students, as well as that I then made sure that I was able to clump students by abilities. Those are all things that minimize the number of students in a classroom, that impact the learning in that classroom. If I have 24 students that are all of a high, regular, similar learning capabilities versus where I've got a mixture of students, there's a different learning that takes place in that classroom. So the success of that classroom and the success of the AP students being successful in the exam will vary greatly by that.
And Mr. Bitter, I want to say to you before you go, because I know you've got to go, but I always read the information you send out to the IB students and the IB parents and everything else, and you follow those students so beautifully that it's like saying, if you do this, you're going to be successful. And they are successful. You do such a fantastic job. I truthfully have never seen anyone do a job as well as you do it. So
Well, thank you.
thank you so much.
Let me finish up my one point here, if you
I
don't mind.
shall.
My point in talking about how the high school is able to generate funds was to segue into the answer to the question on, do we have to pay for testing? And the answer right now, there is no mandatory testing at the NYP level, but if I read the tea leaves correctly, that is probably going to slowly change, and eventually they would ask for testing to incur with a cost. And there would be no financial refund from the state to pay for the costs incurred at an NYP program. And so whereas the high school level has certain things built in for the high school to recoup some of that money, there is nothing in the state law for a middle school or a primary school to recover those costs. So those would be an outgoing cost contingency.
And there is stuff on the website about the e-assessment cost. I guess there's a certificate or a diploma or something for the middle grade NYP.
It is not currently mandatory, but yes, there is a cost, and they are going to more e-assessment, and that could be something that occurs. Now, typically, testing for an NYP program would occur after the 4th or the 5th year. The model we had looked into in this county would be a 3-year program, which would more or less negate any type of e-testing in the 4th or 5th year. However, it's not to say that it wouldn't happen in the 3-year program. But you're absolutely correct. E-testing, there is a cost, not refundable from the state.
Mr. Bittner, thank you so much. I know you have to leave, and maybe you can come back at another time if we have more questions, because we might have some more. Could you do that?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, we get the recognition. Oh, no, I'm sorry, citizens' comments. I almost skipped it. Are there any citizen comments? Any cards handed in? Okay. And now we need to approve the consent agenda.
Move approval?
Second. Been moved by Mr. Kennedy, seconded by Ms. Bryant to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 4-0. We have the donations for recognition.
We have several donations today on the consent agenda. Both was approved, a $500 donation from MSS Elementary School for Public, a $1,500 donation to Citrus High School from Pacific Floor Care, a $3,000 donation to Citrus Springs Middle School from the San Francisco Fund, the Honorable Diane A. Ross Fund, and an $800 grant to Citrus Springs Middle School from the Jim Moore Foundation. There are also 2 other donations on the regular agenda today.
Okay, Linda, thank you so much. Thank all the people who donated to the school system to try to keep us being the best that we can be.
Yes.
We really appreciate it. There's some people in the back, there are plenty of seats up front, so if you want to come on up. There's probably about 10, 12 seats up front. Yeah, there's some over here too, I didn't even notice those. Okay, now we go to the recognition of Michael Jean Kane and Scotty Berardi Carlson on attaining the rank of Eagle Scout and Boy Scouts of America. Who will be doing that presentation? Oh, there you go, thank you.
It's my pleasure to facilitate this recognition of two of our Eagle Scouts and new to Citrus County. And just if I could take a moment to talk a little bit about Eagle Scout. It's the highest advancement in all of scouting. To earn the Eagle Scout rank, a Boy Scout must fulfill requirements in the areas of leadership, service, and outdoor skills. Eagle Scouts have always carried with it a special significance, not only in scouting, but also as they enter higher education, business or industry, and community service. The award is a performance-based achievement whose standards have been well maintained over the years. Not every boy who joins a Boy Scout troop earns the Eagle Scout rank. Only about 5% of all Boy Scouts do so. So today the Citrus County School Board and our superintendent would like to recognize two Eagle Scouts. And I will call that student one at a time and make a few comments about them and give them an opportunity to speak about their project and get their certificate from Ms. Himmel and Ms. Powers. First one is Michael Jean Kane. And as we're standing there taking a picture, he's Boy Scout Troop 457, Citrus High School class of 2016. Began scouting in Cub Scout as a first grader at IPS, and now as an adult leader in Troop 457. He earned 33 individual merit badges and leadership position, patrol leader, senior patrol leader, junior assistant scout master. And if you want to come and tell us a little bit about your Eagle Scout project.
First off, I would just like to clarify what an Eagle Scout project is and kind of pave the way for Scotty when he comes up to explain what his Eagle Scout project is that the Eagle Scout project is kind of like the culmination of the Scouts experience. It's to show their leadership, their talents, their skills, and to kind of finalize their final step on their road to Eagle. So then to go into my project was actually done at the Lakes Region Library. It's the outdoor reading garden that you can find on the right-hand side past the parking lot. So then my Scoutmaster taught me to do an Eagle Scout project that you want to do something that you care about so that it kind of means more to you. So then I'm a very big fan of literacy. I'm an avid reader myself, and that's kind of something that I believe that everybody should get enjoyment out of, or at least, have a firm grasp of. So then that's what sparked the idea of doing something with the library. So then I personally like many different areas to read, indoors, outdoors, and our Lakes Region Library has a very excellent sitting area. You can just pull a book off the shelf, get to reading at one of the many tables that are there. But I also like to read outside on many occasions, and the Lakes Region Library at one point actually did have stone benches outside the library and an outdoor sitting area, but those have actually been stolen. So there was no more outdoor area there. So then I decided I'll make a new area there. So then that's why the benches are, and also we kind of revitalized the plants and gardens area just to get that kind of like hospitable, nice area to read in. And that's my project that I did for my Eagle Scout rank. I brought my father, mother, and sister who are very supportive of my scouting. They've always been a big help, especially with feeding the crew for my Eagle Scout project.
And our next Eagle Scout is Scotty Berardi Carlson. Just a few things about Scotty. Boy Scout Troop 457, Citrus High School class of 2016. He began scouting as a Cub Scout as a first grader in New Jersey. Now is an adult leader in the troop. He's earned 31 individual merit badges. He's leadership positions, assistant senior patrol leader and senior patrol leader. Scotty wants to come tell us a little bit about his project? Thank you.
So, as Michael said, the Eagle Scout project is the last big step, the last big requirement for becoming an Eagle Scout. It's the Eagle Scout project. And as he also said, Mr. John is a big fan of doing something that we're going to remember and that we put a lot of effort in, and that's something we feel really passionate about. So a little background on it. A couple years ago, our family was invited to go to Calvary Chapel of Inverness, and at that time we were not a very active believing family, and it was different. It was very different to go and be at this event and be with my family and see them enjoying the things that I had started to enjoy in high school when I had started making my beliefs as like, okay, so what is God? How does that work? And it was interesting to see my whole family get involved in that. And so when I looked around the area of the church, I noticed that there was this little tiny area off. You wouldn't even notice it if it wasn't done up the way it is now. But there was just this one stone bench sitting there, this one stone bench and stone chairs around it. And I looked at that and I thought to myself, how can I make this better? How can I make this an area where people actually enjoy going to? Because it was very, very bland, very unused almost. And so that's what I decided to do. I decided that I was going to take this one very unattractive area and make it something beautiful. And one of the things that really impressed me was the people in this county, and that they're very, very supportive of Boy Scouts and donating and their time and effort. And one of the things that really touched me was a previous Eagle Scout from our troop. I talked to him, and he actually donated his time and funds, and in doing so to help me make that area amazing. He owns a small company, a curb company, and he was willing to not only take me to ask for donations, but to also do the work and the labor and all of the nooks and crannies of it. And it was awesome. And if I've learned anything from this huge experience of the Eagle Scout project, I will have learned that working with the community isn't as hard as it seems, and being involved in my community doesn't have to be difficult. Thank you. And I brought with me my mom and my baby sister, 5 years old.
But it's so inspiring. I, to this day, remember that.
And I'd like to introduce John Murphy. John is their scout leader.
Come on, John, stand up.
Absolutely. You'll get, actually, the entire board will get an invite on May 21st. We're actually going to have an Eagle Scout ceremony for both these young gentlemen up at the Inverness Elks.
Next, we'll have recognition of the school with the highest overall contribution to the 2015-2016 Citrus County United Way and Education Foundation District Campaign.
Good afternoon. It is my honor this afternoon to announce and award the traveling trophy to the school, as Ms. Bryant said, with the highest overall contribution to the Citrus County District Campaign. We have two outstanding organizations this year. We have the Education Foundation as well as the United Way that were part of our district campaign. I'm going to keep you all in bay who that school is, who won, because what I'd like to do at this time is we have a representative from the Education Foundation and United Way, and they have asked to address the board briefly.
I can't say who it is.
Oh, you're gonna steal my thunder.
I can't steal your thunder. Good afternoon, soon to be evening. My name is Steve Barbieri. I'm with the Citrus County Education Foundation. For the last 2 years, the district has been kind enough to include the Education Foundation as part of the payroll campaign. Each year, starting in August and September, all of the employees of the Citrus County School District have the option now to select the Education Foundation as a direct payroll deposit or by giving a direct contribution to our foundation. This year, we nearly doubled the amount from last year and total gifts through the direct payroll campaign, and we are extremely, at the foundation, extremely proud of that. That just shows that everything we do is for the district, and that the district in turn appreciates the efforts that are being made by the Education Foundation, and help support other teachers when they can give a little bit out of their paycheck into a pot that then we can turn into mini grants. As you know, we gave over 100,000 in grants this year, and we matched that money given last year dollar for dollar. We plan to do the same with this year's contribution, put it towards the mini grant programs for next year, and give those dollars that were raised right here in Citrus County School District back to teachers for individual classroom grants. So thank you for every teacher, staff member, bus driver, administrator, district employee who donates to this year's campaign. We appreciate your support, and we appreciate everything you do for our students.
We have Linda Van Allen here this afternoon, who serves on the United Way.
Hi, I'm Linda Van Allen, and I'm a board member with United Way. I received a phone call today at 3 o'clock that the president of United Way couldn't make the meeting today. So, on behalf of United Way, we would just like to thank you all for your support. We know that the partnership with the Citrus County School District helps us to provide so much for many in the community. We work on lasting change and making a difference, and with the partnerships that we have with the school system, each day we have good stories coming out, and we just appreciate it. And with your generosity, we feel like you enhance the real spirit of Living United. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts, and we just appreciate all you do to help us make a difference in Citrus County. Thank you.
I am very proud to say that for not the first year, the second year, the third year, but for fourth year going strong, Citrus Springs Elementary School is the school that is the overall. Okay, you ready? Okay. Quite an honor. Quite an honor. That it is.
We, as we did last year, I've already spoken with Ms. Hepman, the Citrus County Education Foundation, including Ms. Himmel, will be at your school on May 2nd to cook your entire staff lunch for winning the award this year. We were wondering if you had any menu requests.
Steak.
Steak? I heard Ms. Himmel likes a good goulash.
I will add to that, my husband and I just moved to a new house, and then our previous owner has a fire system in their house I knew nothing about. And the other night I decided to cook, and there was so much smoke in the house, all the alarms went off. And I didn't know how to turn it off. I almost had to call Scott. Finally, I found the man who owned it. He told me. But I would like to just add one more thing to introduce. Most of you know this, but this is my twin sister, Linda. Congratulations.
See, I mean, the first time that I put it together, I wrote it, and she said, living with God. That's where United Way comes from. I didn't even know it. Nice.
Hey, how are you? All right.
Wait for them, let everyone get in, and then we'll go into our presentation. This is a great board meeting. We have all these people. Most of the time, it's just a few people are out there, 1, 2, 3. We feel very blessed.
I'm on the agenda to present my corner update, but it would only take a few minutes. This is my wife's birthday.
Okay, go ahead. Please, go ahead.
We can jump ahead.
We can.
Since I've already introduced myself. Thank you, and I'm back again for my quarterly update on behalf of the Education Foundation. Last was here, I believe, in October, so quite a bit has changed since then. I did want to update you. Our audit for 2014-2015 did come back clean. We had a full and clear audit report from our auditor. We have a copy of that financial statement available for all of you if you'd like to review or request a copy. It's also provided to the school district and the state for their statewide audit as well. Just to grab one highlight from that, if you compare our audit from 2012-13 to 2014-15, so over a 2-year gap, we went from a $68,000 gross revenue to a $408,000 gross revenue. So that's a factor of that's a factor of 6, a 600% increase in the amount of money raised for the school district here through the Education Foundation.
That would cause an audit.
And our costs have remained relatively flat during that time period, which is, I think, the most impressive thing. It just speaks to the dedication of my board and all the great school district members and the employees here at the school district office who helped raise those funds. So some other highlights. I want to also let you all know our financials are always available to you as well, but Karen Stopcheck, in order to keep up with the funding requests and all your agenda items as they come through, has kept a spreadsheet as well and an updated one. So the one she has available is the last 12 trailing months of all the different programs we've funded, either through a district-wide expenditure or directly through schools or individuals. So if you would like a copy of that, please let me know. I'm going to just pull some of the highlighted items from that since the October meeting. First of all, the Coupons for Classrooms campaign has wrapped up. That raised approximately $55,682 for the local schools. That's the money that stays here in the school system. The plans for next year with that money, as well as with the Duke grant and a pending Capital City grant of $3,825, is to expand our First Library initiative. For those of you who aren't familiar with that program, we provide free brand new books to all of our VPK students here in Citrus County. We have 6 coordinated read-ins throughout the school year where some of you all, as well as members from Altrusa and the Afro-American Club and the library system, go into our schools, read to these students, do a fun activity, and then give each one of our students a brand new book to take home and start building their first library. We've entered into a proposal with Duke to expand that program next year to kindergarten as well. So every student, if the grant goes through, every kindergarten student that attends a public school classroom next year will receive 3 brand new books through 3 coordinated read-ins at the district. That's over 3,400 new books next year alone that we'll be providing to kindergartners here in Citrus County. So we're very happy to announce the expansion of our First Library initiative. Also, since October, we're now into scholarship season. For this year, we have $18,000 currently in available scholarships for our graduating seniors. $3,000, that includes the Golden Citrus Scholars Program. We also have $4,000 in allocated money for teacher scholarships for Citrus County staff members and teachers to go back to school to get a teaching certificate or a master's degree. And those are available through our website, citruseducation.org. Also, as of 3:27 p.m. today, we are currently in the Department of Education budget as part of a $4.5 million allocation for the matching grants, which would net us locally, based on our FTE numbers, about $32,000 for next year's matching grants, which will go towards our Foundation for Success mini grants. So that would, if that comes through and it does get signed by the governor, that would mean we would have at a minimum $64,000 in matching grants going into next year, and hopefully we raise more funds this year. As you know, we did $101,000. We would like to see or exceed that number again. Some other items I know on tonight's agenda, you all are being asked to approve a gift that is for an all-county chorus. This year we approved funding a all-county chorus through Lecanto High School, which will coordinate with other high schools as well as the middle schools. And that presentation will take place on April 22nd. We hope you all can attend that. We've also provided funding for the upcoming Teacher Work Day, and if I had Trish Douglas here, I would know the exact name of it. I apologize.
Family University?
No, it's for your administrators as part of a service day where you will be working on your school-wide plans. School improvement planning process for administrators. So that will be taking place in the coming months over the summer. In June, part of a district data day will be providing all the lunch, and that was a $2,000 expenditure. Also, there is still money left over. Last year we received a grant from Duke Energy to provide 5th grade field trips. This year I've heard great things about that. There's quite a bit of money left over on that. We're going to be asking them to roll that money over into next year to hopefully get next year's 5th grade class full paid for field trips out to the Duke plant as well. Is there any questions about what's been going on with the foundation? I know Mr. Dodds reached me on a few items, and if you have any questions, please feel free to speak up.
I would like to see one of your reports for last year's programs. You said you had that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I'll print some out before I leave this evening, so, and I'll bring it back.
No, you need to take Amy out to dinner. And then print it out tomorrow.
Yeah, my wife's birthday was Sunday, and my mother-in-law's is tonight, so they're.
But before he does, I want to brag
dinner
on it,
tonight.
if I can.
But if you want to hold me here and I don't have dinner with my mother-in-law,
No,
it wouldn't be my fault.
Stephen, I want to just brag on two things recently. One you briefly touched on, one you didn't give yourself credit for, so I'm going to make sure that I do. I serve on the Life South Blood Bank's advisory board, and like everything else, nonprofits are struggling. The blood bank, we don't always think of it as a not-for-profit because they actually are serving blood needs. But one of the things they do is our Kids Marathon. And we are the largest in the entire Life South program. That includes 3 states and includes areas as large as Atlanta. And this year, though, the foundation is doing a type of partnering on education with them. And I am very grateful for that, because if it wasn't for some of those partnerings, some other programs might not take place. And as always, and I remember Ms. Deutschman saying, the Educational Foundation is not our check pound, but I will tell you that Mr. Stephen is always very good, though, to say, at least let me know about it, and if there's something we can do. So that's one, and then the other one, and I'll let him respond too, but Golden Citrus, he kind of glossed over that. That's been a major undertaking. It needed the coordination of something like the Educational Foundation, as we know what they have done for our Galaxy of the Stars, for our teachers. They have gone in with as much gusto with that in such a positive way. They have not just infused money, which has been a huge change, but they have infused, I think, a spirit that will live long beyond those of us here. And I'm very grateful, Stephen, for you doing that and for the foundation.
Well, thank you. All the credit for that obviously goes to Pat and Simon and Deutschman. I mean, that's their baby, and they've done a tremendous job. And with Ms. Deutschman retirement and Mr. Simon
Don't say
is he
it.
even here?
Don't say it.
Maybe he's retired already, I don't know. With him unfortunately leaving at the end of the year, we want to make sure that this program continues to be a strong and vital. I wish it was a program when I was in school, not that I would have been nominated for any of the categories, but it's just a wonderful recognition for some amazing students academically who don't necessarily get the sports accolades or the other accolades, so we were very proud to get behind that program. And I just didn't have enough time to go through it all, but just to run it down, we did Missoula's Children's Theater. We sponsored that this year out at Homosassa Springs Elementary. We've done the African American Read-In. We helped sponsor that program. As you said, we just sponsored the Life South Kids Marathon. We have included health and wellness as a so it's not only academic and intellectual wellness, but also our students' health wellness, because there's a strong correlation between the two. And with that as a standard in what we're looking at, we also went out and we received the support of Seven Rivers Community Hospital, who has selected the Education Foundation to be the donor or the recognized non-for-profit for next year's Kings Bay 5K. So we're expecting $10,000 to $15,000 in revenue for that, which the foundation has dedicated a matching grant so that we can give between $20,000 and $35,000 next year in health and wellness mini grants. So we're going to have a brand new health and wellness grant. So PE teachers and sports programs and all that, we're going to do a health and wellness grant for next year. So that'll be coming up, more information on that, but we were selected for the 2016 race Kings Bay Rotary on the health and wellness front as well. As I said, the All-County Chorus, we funded Link for Citrus High School training in December, and then the list goes on and on and on, and I'll provide you a copy of the list. So again, thank you to my board, thank you to all the school employees, the volunteers, all the tireless hours by my wife and all the other board members. And this has been a wonderful experience. My 2 years, which I initially contracted for, is now up as the executive director. So we'll see where everything goes from here. But it has been an absolutely wonderful experience.
Please tell me you're not making an announcement.
I'm not making any announcement today. I am not making any announcement whatsoever today.
There's a lot of work still to do.
There is a lot of work to do, but we're definitely on the right track now. And I think it's because of the board and because of the cooperation between Superintendent Himmel and you all, and working with the foundation, that we've come so far so fast. And in a time when the district is facing unprecedented problems with impact fees being taken away and tax cuts from Duke Energy closing and other things that are restraining your budget, we are so happy to be able to just even do a small part in trying to bridge those gaps to make sure that these tremendous programs still remain in Citrus County. So thank you all for everything you're doing, and my door is always open even if I'm not in the room that the door goes to. So you have my cell phone number, shoot me a call.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Wish your wife happy birthday.
Yes, happy birthday from all of us. Okay, next we have the arts presentations. Okay. Okay, which set are you doing? Are we doing elementary? Yeah. Okay, let's go to the elementary and secondary Tropicana speech leaders.
Good afternoon, board members, Mrs. Himmel, Mr. Bradshaw, Mr. Mullen. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to share the talent of our young speakers today. We are thrilled to present to you the district winners from the Tropicana speech competition. Each year, the Tropicana contest affords our 4th, 5th, and 6th grade students the opportunity to learn how to speak, write, and deliver a public speech. As early as September, our 4th, 5th, and 6th grade teachers begin working with our students, teaching them how to compose and write and deliver an effective 2 to 3 minute speech. So each 4th, 5th, and 6th grade student participated in a classroom speaking competition, and the winners of those classroom speaking competitions moved on to a school competition. We know that many of you were called upon to assist with the judging of those competitions, and we want to thank you very much for your time and support of those. The first and second place winner from each school progressed on to the district-wide competition, and at all levels of competition, the student speakers were judged on both the composition and presentation of their speeches. They earn points for their originality of their speech, the effectiveness of the introduction and conclusion, their audience bond, delivery style, pronunciation, volume, and speed.
We are also thankful for the support we received from Dr. Marty Ward. She is our Citrus County 4-H agent, and she's out at the UF Extension office in Lecanto. Her office provided materials for teachers to use as resources in helping prepare the students for the speech competition, as well as all of the awards that our school winners and our district winners received were through the generosity of her office. Additionally, we thank the parents of these students today, their families, the administrators, and their teachers that are here to see them present to you. And finally, I'll close with being able to communicate effectively is a critical skill for our students as they continue through their educational career and into the workforce. So we commend and congratulate these students for their excellence in communicating through their speech to you today. And again, we thank you for your time to help celebrate the success of their speeches today. So with that, it's my honor to welcome our first elementary speaker, Mr. Logan Shaw. Logan is a 5th grader from Forest Ridge Elementary, and he's here to present his speech entitled Manatees, which I think is a very relevant topic for our local community right now.
You know, would you could you close the laptop down? Yeah, thank you.
Picture this. Swimming in the Three Sisters Springs, and out of the corner of your eye, you see a 1,200-pound shadow. Do you swim away? No, I didn't. I put my hand out and scratched the top of the manatee's head. It might weigh 1,200 pounds, but it won't hurt me. Manatees are the gentle giants that we see basking in our warm waters eating eelgrass, but some have scratches on their backs and flippers. This is because of humans and all types of boats and their propellers. This causes manatee babies and adults to become injured. That makes it easy for the species to become extinct. Would you think that a baby manatee weighs 16 to 20 pounds? Well, they don't. They weigh about 66 pounds. Wow, a baby manatee almost weighs more than me. A mother manatee is pregnant for 13 months. That's over 1 year, just for one single manatee baby. The baby stays with his mother for another 2 years. She teaches them locations of food, travel routes, and safe places to rest. Some people say that manatees eat fish, but they're herbivores. They eat a variety of seagrass and sometimes water down acorns. Manatees are mammals, even though they swim in the waters. They have to come up for air every 3 to 4 minutes, but they stay submerged underwater, stick their little nostrils out, take a small breath, then go back under. Manatees are very slow movers. Unfortunately, that is why they get hit by a lot of boats. All because of humans, 94 manatees are killed each year and 75 are injured, just in 1 year. Humans used to hunt manatees until they started becoming endangered. So now hunting manatees is illegal. People travel from all over the world hoping to catch a glimpse of a manatee. We're lucky. We have manatees right in our backyards. That is one reason why I love living in Citrus County. So on your next vacation, ask your parents to bring you to Ellie Schiller, Homosassa Springs Wildlife State Park, where you can have an opportunity to catch a glimpse of one of these gentle giants up close.
Well done, Logan, and again, congratulations on your honorable mention for the District Elementary Tropicana Speech Competition. Next, it's my privilege to welcome Ms. Carson Quinn. Carson is a 5th grader from Lecanto Primary School, and she earned 3rd place at the elementary district competition. Her speech is entitled, Not in My House.
Ah! Call 911! I heard my mother say as I was playing with my new puppy before school, and with all of her yelling and screaming, she woke up my brother and sister. It was 7:30 in the morning. What on earth could be wrong? And then I saw what she was screaming at, and we both start screaming at the top of our lungs, trying to figure out a way to get him out of the house. We were freaking out, wondering how he got in and how long he had been there. Then I had the idea to let my brother try to get him out. But then I remembered, he's only 8, and I didn't want to risk him getting hurt. So we decided to call my daddy, who was 2 hours away at work, so he wasn't very much help. But the question still remains. How do we get rid of him? So, who is this intruder, you might ask? Well, it's a spider! Now, let me explain something to y'all. When it comes to my mom and spiders, well, you see, she's deathly afraid of everything, but especially spiders. I'm talking like drop the baby and run, scared of spiders. Now, by this time, my mom has armed herself with every weapon she could get her hands on, including a broom, a plastic bat, and a can of Raid. Now I'm screaming, my mom's screaming, my little sister's screaming, my brother's laughing at us, and my dad's on the phone trying to tell us how to get rid of the thing. The spider is near the ceiling. And I guess with all our yelling, we scared him, because he started moving from one corner of the wall all the way to the other. My mom starts moving my sister's toys out of the way so it doesn't fall in and hatch babies. So it slowly starts crawling down the wall. My mom has the broom stretched out, trying to get it to crawl onto the broom so she can dispose of it outside. My brother jumps in, trying to help her, and knocks the thing off onto the floor. By this time, 30 minutes had passed. We were running late, and my mom's patience was wearing very thin. And from somewhere deep inside, she mustered up courage like none of us had ever known, not even her. She stood one foot on a chair, the other on my sister's tool bench. She told all of us kids to get out. We went straight to my room, and all the way down the hallway I hear scream. Not today, spider, not in this house.
Excellent job, Carson. Thank you. I think many of us can relate to that fear of spiders.
Next, I welcome our second place winner, Miss Ivy Lewis. Ivy is a 4th grade student at Floral City Elementary, and she's here to share her speech entitled, My Move from a Big City to a Small Town.
It was the summer of 2009. I was 4 years old. My family and I moved from a big city of St. Petersburg to a small town of Floral City. I was sad to be leaving some of my family, but excited for my family's new adventure. The car and trucks were packed and we were on our way. As we were driving, I watched the scenery change so much. In St. Petersburg, there were lots of stoplights, traffic, and big buildings. In the country, there were lots of farmlands and tall trees. I've never seen so many cows in my life. Horses were grazing in the grass, pigs were laying in their pens, and chickens were running wild. In St. Petersburg, dogs and cats were all you'd see in someone's yard. Boring. We had finally arrived at our new home. I couldn't believe what a big yard we had. My mom said we now live on 3 acres. I didn't know what that meant. All I knew is that I had a lot of space to play. After a couple days of unpacking and settling in, I wanted to explore my new surroundings. I thought it would be fun to take my baby doll for a ride in her stroller. I walked outside and looked around. I thought to myself, where is the sidewalk? I yelled for my dad. He came outside. With a puzzled look on my face, I said, where is the sidewalk? My dad laughed and said, you live in the country, not the city. I thought to myself, my baby doll's gonna have a bumpy ride. I was enjoying my walk, but I couldn't stop thinking, how would I learn to ride a bike if there's no sidewalk? I guess I'll have to figure it out when the time comes. My big day had finally arrived. First day of my new preschool. After a long, boring drive, we had finally made it. I yelled, this cannot be my preschool. This is a double-wide trailer. In St. Petersburg, the only people who live in double-wide trailers are old and retired people. My new teacher said, welcome, Ivy. Go hang your lunchbox on the rack over there. I couldn't believe my eyes. The rack was actually a set of deer antlers. I sat in a circle and I felt so out of place. Over half the class was wearing something camo and I was wearing a pink dress. The teacher said it was now time to share something about ourselves with the class. The teacher called my name. I stood up and said, "Hi, my name is Ivy. Let me tell you a little something about my move from a big city to a small town."
Thank you, Ivy. Great job. I think your friends at Floral City are happy that you made that move. And finally, for the elementary competition, I present to you the first place winner, Ms. Darla Edwards. Darla is a 5th grader at Hernando Elementary, and she is here to present her speech entitled Earworms.
I will be talking to you about earworms. Yes, earworms. What is an earworm, you say? It is an attack on your brain. You know that moment when a catchy tune or song gets stuck in your head and it won't go away? That is an earworm, my friends. They are real and they are unavoidable. Earworms can plague you for hours, days, weeks, sometimes even months. Did you know that 98% of all people will suffer from an earworm? In fact, research shows that 90% of all people will suffer an earworm this week. So if you haven't gotten an earworm yet, then hold on, it will be coming for you. I don't know about you, but I find earworms to be very distracting. They can sometimes drive me absolutely insane, especially when I'm trying to sleep at night or do my homework. And then there it is, that endless 10-second loop playing over and over and over again in my head, and I just can't shake it off. Great, shake it off, another earworm. Here I go again. Taylor Swift and Lady Gaga are famous for causing earworms. Hey, do you remember when the movie Frozen came out and every man, woman, and child in the nation was singing, "Let it go, let it go"? This was the granddaddy of all earworms. It was unavoidable. Everywhere you went, you would hear that song on the radio, on the television, in the stores. I loved that song too at first until it became a global earworm and drove me absolutely insane. You know, there is hope in getting relief from an earworm. Some studies have shown that if you chew gum immediately after listening to a catchy tune, that you're less likely to catch an earworm. That's worth a try. Some people say earworms get stuck in our head because the song is simple and catchy, but you only know that small part of the song. So your brain naturally continues playing it over and over in your head and attempt to try and remember the rest of the song. So it is believed that if you play the entire song and listen to it, this may allow your brain to let it go. Oh no, not again! Let it go! Let it go! On that note, I will let you go.
Let me mention that we have a 5:30 time certain for any comments from the audience, so I'm going to ask if we do have any cards or any comments. We don't have any. We're lucky then you got it.
Yeah. Nice job, Darla. Congratulations again. We're now going to move on to our 6th grade participants, and we're going to start with our honorable mention, who is Brody Vaughn. He is here from Seven Rivers Christian Academy, presenting his speech entitled Mess. What mess?
As I peer through the cobwebs, I see the risks that lie before me. I slowly maneuver my way, step by step, carefully avoiding the piles of potential harm. I've become an expert at this. I pause for a moment, and that's when I hear, "Brody, cleaning up that messy room." Mess? What mess? I don't see a mess. I see comfort. Sure, I have mountains of clothes, a half-eaten pizza, and a desk piled high with books and papers. But this is my world, my turf, my paradise. This is where I create. Who would possibly want to disturb this? I am here today to help parents realize that this is a new day, a new world. It is a time for change. The old world was built for organization. Things were easier then. Grow up, get a job, have a family, grow old, die, repeat. But this is a new world. the world with really big problems. We need people that have great imaginations. People who are not afraid to think outside the box to help make things better. They need a place to go that helps them create. Did you know that messy environments inspire people? Albert Einstein once said, if a cluttered desk is a sign of a cluttered mind, then what's an empty desk a sign of? You guessed it, an empty mind. So therefore, if I keep my room clean, how will I ever master time travel? Face it, parents. Making kids clean their rooms may keep them from changing the world. Don't be a change blocker. Messy rooms can also help the animal kingdom. When my big brother was growing up, his room was always a huge mess. Once, my pet hamster got loose, and it went missing for 2 weeks. I was sure it was gone forever, till one day I saw it coming out of my brother's room. It was fat and happy. It lived on the old food he had stashed under his bed. My brother's mess saved an animal's life. He is an animal hero. So you see, being messy is a good thing, a necessary thing. So stop asking kids to clean their rooms. Let them make a difference in this world. Future generations are counting on it.
If I recall, Rhodey is a 2-time winner, is he not? So you've got to put 2 plaques up now. Rhodey, did you place first last year in 5th grade? Well done.
Nice job, Brody. You almost convinced me to eliminate the clean room rule in my house. Almost. Okay. We're now going to move on to our 3rd place winner, Amberly Grace, who is here from St. John Paul II, and her speech is entitled, My Photographic Memory. Well, sort of.
Some people have amazing memories. Kim Peek, the inspiration behind the movie Rain Man, could recite over 12,000 books. On March 15th of this year, Raj Vermeena, a 21-year-old student, recited 70,000 digits of pi. Speaking of pie, I'm thinking of a nice slice of strawberry rhubarb right now. It's been a while since I've had one of those. 2 years, 6 months, and 3 days to be exact. My parents brought a slice home for me, and I ate it while watching The Lion King with my 2 brothers. Some people have a bad memory. Some have a good memory. Some even have a photographic memory. Me, I have a unique kind of memory. I like to call it my food-ographic memory. I never forget a meal. Food and I go way back. I remember the first great enigma of my life. What do people eat after they die? Eventually, I figured it out. Angel food cake, of course. My parents always said that when and if I was ever proposed to, I would not remember where it was, what car I arrived in, what I was wearing, or even the beautiful sunset. No, I would remember the appetizer, how my steak was cooked for dinner, and especially the dessert. It can be a little frustrating having a photographic memory when people bring up past events such as parties, family trips, or any activities. I always tie to food to remember the experience. Riding Sheeker Busch Gardens is met with the roller coaster next to the tangy barbecue ribs. The birthday I enjoyed the most is met with the birthday that had the cake with the buttercream frosting that was so fluffy, it was like eating sweet clouds of mouthwater in heaven. A painter sees the world through his canvas, a sculptor through his hands, and me? Well, I guess I'm destined to see life through the food I encounter. It was a pleasure meeting all of you. I really have enjoyed taking part in Tropicana's speeches. It's an experience I'll never forget. After all, Tropicana is a food company.
Thank you, Amberly. We're now going to move on to our 2nd place winner, Ms. Taylor Kuhn from Inverness Middle School, and she's going to present her speech entitled Girl Power.
No offense to all you gentlemen out there, but the focus here today is going to be on the ladies. Real-life women who have made an impact in our world. Do you realize back in the day, women weren't allowed to vote? They weren't allowed to have careers? Really, people? Women have too much power not to share it. Maybe the boys back then were scared they'd take over the world. Helen Keller is an American author and political activist. She was the first deaf-blind person to earn her Bachelor of Arts degree. Okay, so all of you out there who blame not turning in your homework on your dog, imagine this amazing woman earning her college degree even though she had tremendous obstacles. No excuses. Ms. Keller even campaigned for women's rights to vote and labor rights for women. Rosa Parks is often referred to as the First Lady of Civil Rights and the Mother of Freedom Movement. When a bus driver asked her to move her seat just because the color of her skin, Ms. Parks refused. She was arrested for resisting racial segregation, which started a boycott. People always say, I didn't give up my seat because I was tired, but that is not true. No, the only tired I was tired of giving in. Wow, Ms. Parks, that's what I'm talking about. Boycott? No way. They should call it a girl-cott. Mother Teresa dedicated her life to aiding sick and poor people. She was a full-time, all-out, everyday missionary. From running soup kitchens, foster homes, and schools, Mother Teresa gave her whole life to others. She once said, "Not all of us can do great things, but we can all do small things with great love." If you're not motivated, ladies, I don't know what will motivate you. These are some amazing women. Women today have different obstacles, thanks to the women of the past. But we still have obstacles. We have power, and we have to use our power to make a difference. I think about Gabby Douglas, who is the first African-American woman to become an all-around individual champion in the Olympics, even though she came from a family with very little money. And Taylor Swift, who was picked on when she was younger, but now uses her stage to talk to people all over the world about bullying and being kind to others. How about our everyday heroes, our moms, grandmas, teachers, aunts, coaches, superintendents? So many empowering women. What do all of these very amazing women have in common? They love, they give, they inspire, and they have something I like to call girl power.
Hang on, Mr. Kuhn.
Taylor, I heard this morning on the radio, not only is it National Pancake Day, it's also National Women's Day.
Thank you, Taylor. Our last speaker for today is going to be our first place 6th grade winner, Mr. Rory Flick from Crystal River Middle School, and his speech is entitled, Reasons Not to Play Competitive Soccer.
What do blind refs, bad prices, rat faces, and kids making fun of your shoes have in common? They all make competitive soccer less enjoyable. First of all, it is very expensive to play competitive soccer. It costs $400. This divides into $75 for the right to play with the league, $60 for a team backpack, and $40 for a home and away uniform. But where does this other $225 go to? Profits for the soccer board, or non-profits. The soccer board's supposed to use this money to improve on our fields and equipment, but the most improvement I've seen in 5 years is new nets last summer. Not new goals, new nets. We still have the same old, crusty, corroded goalposts that have been there longer than I have. The quality of the fields are rubbish. Last year, my friend snapped his ankle due to the poor soil. The World Soccer Federation qualifies for turf, not soil. The gameplay makes soccer fun, but it can also make it a drag. The refs make so many bad calls that a trained monkey can do a better job than them. Sometimes when they make a really bad call, we chant, "I'm blind, I'm deaf, I wanna be a ref." This is probably why we've only won one game. I'm playing with kids much bigger than me. One time we played a kid that looked like he was 26 years old and had a rat face. He was pushing me around and I nonchalantly said, "Chill, rat face." This infuriated him, making him much more aggressive. So my coach pulled me out right away so I wouldn't get hurt. But the most annoying part about competitive soccer is random kids going up to your shoes and saying, "What are those?" Believe it or not, this happens all the time. On one example, a kid wearing white Nike Superflies gestured to my white Puma Dragons and said, "What are those?" instead of "Good game." So there you have it, 4 reasons not to play competitive soccer. Rat faces push you around, the refs are blind, prices are horrible, and random kids make fun of your shoes.
Thank you. Oh, wonderful speech. Wonderful. Are we ready for the arts board?
Good evening. My name is Pat Fosnod, and I'm Regional Program Coordinator for VSA Florida. We used to be called Very Special Arts, and we are actually an international organization that was founded in the 1970s by Jean Kennedy Smith when her sister started Special Olympics. Our focus is the arts and education and opportunities in the arts for children and adults specifically with disabilities, but we are inclusive and we like everyone to be participating. I'm here to present an award to a very talented young lady by the name of Kate Cisco from Lecanto High School. And the reason for this award is we have a special recognition program that we do throughout the school year in the state of Florida. We give 2 awards each month to a student who has shown outstanding progress in the arts. And according to Kate's resume, which I read, which was very impressive, she was nominated by her teacher and her ESE specialist because she is an outstanding art student. She is an advanced placement art. She does community service activities. She is just an all-around wonderful student and is interested in pursuing a career in the arts possibly. So we like to recognize her as our January Student of the Month for the state of Florida. And I have a trophy and a gift card for you, Kate. This is a special trophy that's actually a sculpture. It's a work of art, and it says Kate Cisco, Student of the Month, January 2016. And I'd like to present that to you. Absolutely, it's yours. And Kate, one more thing. We have a $50 gift card for you.
Sure, that's fine. We're going to ask to have a 5-minute break, recess, and then we'll be back.